Coming up on the Racing Insiders this week, we talked to Jon Fogarty, Gainesco Racing, the collapse of that team, but what he's going to be doing the remainder of the year, especially coming up at Sebring. We talked to Lawson Aschenbach, who's going to be defending his championship in a black dog in the Pirelli World Challenge. The World Rally Championship, Volkswagen destroys the field there in Mexico. And are you kidding me? What's going on in our minds? Next on the Racing Insiders. Welcome back to the Racing Insiders, the only place in broadcasting where you're going to get sports car content every week. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Jeff Lepper's normally in Folsom, California, but this week he's at Thunder Hill at the racetrack, trackside. Jeff, what's it like out there trackside?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Thank you to the folks at the San Francisco Region Sports Car Club of America, SCCA. I'm here at Thunder Hill Raceway Park in Willows, California, the opening divisional round for the NorCal region. And I'm very fortunate here at my home track, one of my home tracks in NorCal, because I have three of them with Mazda Raceway, Laguna Seca, and Sonoma Raceway. But I'm at Thunder Hill for the opening round. Unfortunately, it's rain. Don't really like to have it, but we do need it in California, right, Bill?
Yeah, exactly. We need a lot more of it. It's way, way down. Let's go to Oregon right now. In the backwoods of Oregon, Jon Fogarty has got a compound there for his family. He's got the kids and all with him. John, some bad news with one of the fastest guys in American sports car racing. It's gone to sidelines this year with Gainesco. He's scrambling to get a ride. John, welcome.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you back. There was a problem a couple of weeks ago where the Red Dragon disappeared. Tell me about that. Are you coming back this year?
Not for 2014. Unfortunately, you know, the incident that we had at Daytona was just a big strain, of course, emotionally with what happened with Mamo. But he's on the mend. But big hit from the financial and budgetary standpoint. So, you know, it's unfortunate that Gainesco, the Red Dragon's going to have to sit it out. You know, Bob and the team is brainstorming and trying to put together, you know, a program that makes sense for us going forward into 2015.
And for your fans, you're coming back in 2015. We talked earlier that might indicate you would consider another series or maybe moving to GT. Is that all off the table right now?
Yeah, we got everything on the table, of course. Yeah, personally, I'm happy to drive any race car. You know, love to be back with Gainesco and Bob Stallings racing. So hopefully that's what works out. In the meantime, you know, I'm going to be at Sebring running with Action Express, so the opportunities that come along, I'm open to taking. So looking forward to those.
Well, there's a bit of news. Jeff, get in there.
Well, John, I mean, when the age of, you know, big-time prototype racing, was there not a spare car that you guys could utilize and just leave that one on the shelf and figure out what parts you need for the spare car? I mean, as an insider, I kind of was wondering where you stand on that front with the team.
Yeah, you know, we have a full complement of spares parts, no spare cars. I mean, the car was completely destroyed, of course. We're the only Riley chassis Corvette out there, so we have a unique situation. So we did not have a full backup. These cars, you know, they're hand built, you know, pretty much. Hanging the body work takes a lot of man hours of fabrication. You know, every motor installation is different on every chassis, so it's not like you just plug and play or go pick up a new chassis from Bill Riley and bolt it together. So just too much to overcome.
Now, with the change in the prototype format appearing to be in 2016, 2017 through the ACO, is you guys going to build a car for 1 year, or are you evaluating a long term on maybe we're going to start running like maybe an LMP2 car through Stallings Racing?
No, exactly. That's a big issue. Looking to see exactly what the rule package is, where there might be some stability from 2016 and beyond. I mean, you got to look at capital outlay and you know, amortize those costs over long term if you can. So building a new prototype for 1 year, in my mind, there's not a lot of logic in that. You see more stability, I think, in the GT category right now. So obviously that's under consideration.
Jon, let me ask you a delicate question, and you may not know the answer to this, but the problems that were experienced at Bob Stallings Racing and the Gainesco team, is that maybe the first domino? Are there other teams out there that might be in trouble?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, that was a huge blow that we suffered, and that's the type of thing that doesn't, hopefully doesn't and doesn't seem to happen all that often. So, the upgrades that needed to be applied to the current Daytona prototype type spec car were pretty substantial. But if you can run that in 14, 15, that makes sense. And I think everybody's going to be looking to see, what sort of rules package comes out in 2016. So, everybody's under the same consideration. But if you've managed to put together a program for this year, I think that's that should hold. You should be able to carry that up until the new ACO rules come out in 2016.
Finally, Jon, looking into the horizon, is there going to be anything for Jon Fogarty this year after Sebring?
I hope so. It's a great opportunity to go with Action Express. I'll be in the 9 car with Bert and Brian. 2 great drivers, really good guys. I think the only remaining race on the schedule that might necessitate 3 guys is probably Petit Le Mans at the end of the year. So I'm hopeful that things go well at Sebring, and I'll have the opportunity to run that race. So, the full-time drives are pretty much filled, and I'll just keep my ears and eyes open for whatever might be available.
One of the fastest guys in sports car racing here in the United States, all over the world. A record for poles, consecutive poles in the Grand Am Series last year. Jon, good luck to you, partner. Thanks for your candor. It's good to have you back in with the Racing Insiders.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Jon Fogarty, one of the fastest guys in American sports car racing. He's got the records to prove it. Lawson Aschenbach is in Florida. Lawson, how does a race driver get interested in baseball? You were taking in some spring training last weekend.
Yes, I've been very fortunate to meet a few baseball players during the off season, and I train with quite a few of them at the same gym, and we go through a lot of the same routines together. So I always try to catch at least one preseason or spring training game before they ship out for the main season. And the great thing is the actual stadium is just down the street from me, about a mile. So it's great to be able to see them all during the off season and watch them pitch and hit and everything, and get to sit in the stands and wish maybe I was a baseball player one time in my lifetime.
So Lawson, 3-time Pirelli World Challenge champion in GT, GTS touring car. I had the pleasure of announcing for 2 of those championships. Who do I need to call to get you into a B-Spec car to see if we can get you a championship in that?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to lie. During the acceptance speech last year, I think you were there. I did make a little shout out that I'd like to try it and see if we can get a 4th championship. But it'd be fun. It's a great series. Obviously, World Challenge has done a great job of getting the car counts up in that class, and I think it's a great way for a lot of young amateurs or people that aspire to be professional race car drivers to get into racing and to get their feet wet. So maybe one of these days I'll at least get to try one out and thrash it around a little bit. But I think right now I'm going to focus on GTS and hopefully GT someday.
Now, speaking of that focus, I saw the entry list. You're back again, Black Dog Speed Shop, Team Chevrolet Camaro. You're running number 1, and that's because you accumulated more points than any of the other 4 classes last year. Do you like running number 1, or would you like to stick with your old number 10 instead?
Well, that's a tough question. I like the number 1. I think it's great for being at the track when people get to realize who the champion was and so forth from the previous year. And I've had number 1 before in the past, and was still successful with it. I've Numbers are a strange thing to me, and I'm not a big believer in luck and the special things people do before races and so forth. I just believe in getting in the car and going. So whether it's 1 or whether it's 99 or 120, it doesn't matter to me. I'm ready to go. And but there is something special about having number 1 on the side of the car.
Well, other than the Pirelli World Challenge fans having to change all their tattoos now to cross out that 0.
Yeah, I guess I should apologize up front for that. Sorry, guys.
Lawson Aschenbach, you've run in Grand Am last year. You've run in the Continental Tire at Daytona earlier this season. A 2.5-hour race. You run the sprint races in the Pirelli World Challenge. You have a feeling one way or the other, the long endurance races or versus the 1-hour sprints?
There's so many different aspects to both styles of racing. Whether you're starting or finishing an endurance race is a very different there's a very different plan for each driver at that point. Obviously, in sprint racing, it's 110% the whole time. And that's kind of what I like about World Challenge racing. That's why I think it's so unique and different that, these pro-level series, so many of them have gone to the endurance style format. And it doesn't really truly allow drivers to prove what they're made of because there's so much strategy and pit stops. And you have a first driver who may, have a problem before you get in the car in an endurance race, that it's really hard, I think, to show your talent and what you can do.
I would bet, Lawson, that the street races in the Pirelli World Challenge might lead you to think that you're in kind of a bull ring. You have to be more aggressive in those kind of races, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. It's, I think the first and foremost, it's great having standing starts, because you have the opportunity to jump a few positions going into the first turn. Or a lot of times in rolling starts, you end up pretty much going in filing in single file. And in sprint racing, it's very hard to come back, from, maybe if you're starting in 10th place or 15th or whatever it may be, 7th for that matter, it's really tough to win. So you have to get going right away. And, like I said before, I think it's very exciting for the fans that we get to do that, and you have to take chances, you have to take risks, and when you're in a street course, there's zero margin for error. You can't put 2 wheels off; it's 2 wheels into the wall at that point. So, taking risk in that setting can be very difficult, but it's something that I've been able to, I think, learn a lot about over these last couple of years, and it's become kind of a strong point, I think, in my driving, is be able to get into these street courses and really truly understand how to race them. And I think your analogy is perfect. It's a bull ring, that's for sure. So it's fun. We like it.
Lawson Aschenbach, defending champion, Pirelli World Challenge, GTS. Thanks for coming to Brown, partner.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate all the help in the interview, man. This is fun. Do it anytime.
Thanks to Lawson Aschenbach, defending champion in the Pirelli World Challenge GTS category. Coming up next, the World Rally Championship in Mexico. You won't believe what Volkswagen and Sebastian Ogier did to the field there when we come back.
This segment of the Racing Insiders was brought to you by Go Pro, Be a Hero. Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Welcome back to the Racing Insiders. Let's go to León, Mexico, where the World Rally Championship made its stop for Mexico. Jeff, Volkswagen annihilated the field. Sebastian Ogier won. And I read something this weekend where it shows that Volkswagen has won maybe 75% of all the stages competed this year. It was a huge win for Volkswagen.
Well, you said at the beginning of the show that Volkswagen destroyed the field, but Rally Mexico destroys cars, and it held up to its reputation this weekend as there was incident after incident. Even when the teams can get these cars repaired, they can re-enter the rally under Rally 2 regulations and rules, then the cars get destroyed again. I think some of the teams just simply give up on getting these cars repaired, but it was Sebastian Ogier taking the win, just obliterated the field, I think just because he stayed out of trouble and there really was nobody left. And it was Jari Matti Latvia in second, his teammate, and Thierry Neuville in that Hyundai getting the first points for Hyundai in their I-20 rally car, making their debut this year. Third rally out, they get points. That's a great program for that Hyundai.
You know, it really is crazy that Ogier entered into Sunday about a minute ahead of the field. And we're talking about something that's measured in splits of seconds, and he was a minute ahead of the field. Completely ran away. There was one problem. Mads Olsberg in the Citroen was doing well, but he said there was a bad note that ended up doing some damage to his car. I think the problem is this is the first time they're on proper gravel. The dirt roads and the gravel roads in Mexico, they've run on ice and snow and pavement at Monte Carlo. It's all ice and snow at Sweden, and these guys are human. It's crazy to think about, but this is the first time all year that they've run on gravel, and it showed, and they weren't ready for it, it seems.
Yeah, I think they weren't ready for the conditions, it seems, at all. There are a lot of mechanical failures as well. Mikko Hirvonen was plagued by an alternator in his Ford Fiesta. The heat there as well. He got a helicopter view of him getting out of the car, taking his jersey off and his uniform, and he's got his, bare shirted, and he's sweating so bad. The heat was a big factor there as well. I wish we could have some of that. It's raining up here at Thunder Hill, so I don't kind of wish we had some warmer weather. Maybe that guy should have headed down to Rally Mexico instead of staying up here to race instead.
Yeah, but in California, we need that rain. It was crazy for Olsberg. He was fixing his car on the telephone with the engineers back at service. He had a problem with, I think, the left rear and knocked the part of the suspension damage and the brake line. He had to tie it off to get it back to service. It was a huge, huge problem for all the cars, especially the front runners. Olsberg, I like Olsberg. I like him a lot. I've talked to him a couple of times. I hope that he can get his game together with Citroen. He's fast enough. He was winning stages. He just had a problem, and it affected everybody. The Volkswagen team, do you think it's good for a sport that Citroen dominated with Loeb? Now Ogier is dominating with Volkswagen. You think it's good for a sport to have a Yankee kind of domination for somebody to aim at?
My take on that, Bill, is I think it's good for a little while. I think it's great to see them coming out, but then it starts to get too repetitive. Fans start getting bored. They turn the channel. They stop watching the TV. Don't stop watching Racing Insiders. That's the last thing we want. But I think it is good up to a certain point. Then it needs to stop.
And it's Ogier, 9 championships is 9 championships. Ogier won last year. Whether he could string several together, who knows? But he's got a good start towards it. In Volkswagen, they are committed to doing this. They've got all the resources necessary. That Red Bull sponsorship doesn't hurt. But I like the idea of something to aim at, but maybe I'm with you after 2 or 3 times. But it worked for Loeb. Everybody followed it. In fact, that added to the appeal of the championship to have Loeb out there winning 9 in a row. Whether Ogier could bring that same appeal to a fan base is anybody's guess.
Are you kidding me?
This is what you tell us you like. Are you kidding me? What's going on in our heads? Jeff, what's on your mind this week?
Well, I'm going all the way back to the WRC rally in Mexico, and I got to talk about Robert Kubica. Man, what a great pilot this guy is. He Formula One, to be able to race at that level, he is starting to show that he has no business in World Rally Championship, in my opinion. He's crashed out of all 3 rallies. He had 2 rollovers in this rally. He had a rollover in the first rally. He spends more time upside down than a stunt pilot. I do not understand how he's going to continue. Hopefully, he can get into a groove and he can make it. He's had some success. He's won a championship in rally. Let's pick it up a little bit. Maybe just back it off a 10th or 2 and try to finish a rally, because to win, you have to finish first. Come on, Robert Kubica, are you kidding me?
It is an effort to back it off a notch. Guys that are used to going as hard as they can. You should know that, Jeff. You go as hard as you can all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right, exactly. What's going on in my head this week is the Gainesco Racing. Are you kidding me? One of the toughest teams in all of American sports car racing. They've been forced to the sidelines. Shows the tenuous nature between success and failure in American sports car racing. They had parts, like you heard from Jon Fogarty earlier, didn't have a spare car. They wrecked their car. Now they're on the sidelines. Fogarty is one of the fast guys. So is his teammate Alex Gurney. I sure hope they can get back some kind of way. He told me earlier they were thinking of running several different series, but who knows? They said they'll be back next year. I hope they do. Are you kidding me? If there's no room for the Gainesco team in American racing, we got to rethink how this whole thing goes together. On the calendar this week, the 12 Hours of Sebring. We finally get back to some sports car racing here in the United States, and the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge, that's also at Sebring. We've got the V8 Supercars are in Melbourne, and an off-road race. We don't talk off-road racing here, but it's one that's pretty popular with sports car drivers. Last year, Patrick Dempsey and Andy Lally won their category. The Mint 400, classic race, traditional. It's coming back right now. A lot more power behind it with the Martelli brothers in Southern California. The Mint 400s this weekend. Jeff, what are you going to be doing this weekend?
Well, I'm actually leaving on a jet plane, heading down to Florida for a week before we head over to the first round at St. Petersburg, Florida for the Pirelli World Challenge. Going to visit my son who lives in Florida, and I'm going to try to see if I can head down to Cocoa Beach, maybe bug Peter Keane a little bit, one of our co-hosts here on the Racing Insiders as well.
I'm going to be going to the Mint 400, doing some work there. It's a great race. It's staggering. If you people that dismiss off-road racing miss the whole point. The technology, when you see the suspension on some of those trophy trucks almost fall out of the bottom of it's incredible. You got to watch it. That's all for the Racing Insiders this week. For Jeff Lepper in trackside at Thunder Hill, I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Want to see you next week. Until then, take care of each other, respect each other. Look forward to seeing you next week. Peace.